Welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast. Vishnudaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine.
So, when this Bhagavad Gita is, it's the handbook for how to utilize everything in this material world, how to utilize everything properly. Knowing what's material, and this is the first installment of transcendental knowledge which Krishna gives to Arjuna, knowing what is material and what is spiritual, what's the difference between the body and there's a difference between the soul. This is first installment he gives. And then how to act, how to utilize everything. Everything is meant to be used when one understands the proprietorship. It's the first thing we've got to understand. Who owns it? Where did everything come from? Where does it all come from? We talked a little bit about this last week. We just kind of woke up in this body, right? Does anyone remember filling out an application form, how to get you? How do we get you? And what's it all about? Alfie, as the old song goes. What were you for? What is the purpose of us being here? That's what. So if you don't ask the question, you're not going to get the answer. So the first thing we have to start asking these questions: why am I here? And then when one realizes, or begins to realize, or why do I have to suffer? Who wants to suffer? Hands up on those who wants to suffer. No one wants to suffer. So why do we suffer? What is that? It's because we are Srimad Bhagavatam explains that we are taking shelter of our protection. It's all about protection. Ultimately, we go where we feel protected, physically, emotionally, psychologically. We go there where we feel safe. That's what we do. We go somewhere to comfort. Like a child will run to its mother. The first thing that the child will do is it'll call for its mother. Why? Because it has a relationship, and it'll call its mother for protection. So what does a devotee do? A devotee will call for Krishna. Why does he call for Krishna? Why does he or she call for Krishna? Because he has a relationship with Krishna. He's developing that relationship with Krishna. A child doesn't call, who's the Prime Minister? Keir Starmer, he doesn't call for the Prime Minister or somebody. He won't call for, because he doesn't know them. He doesn't have any relationship with them. So a child will call the mother because it has a relationship, because it knows it'll be protected. So the devotee will call Krishna. And that's what chanting Hare Krishna is about. That's why we chant every day. It's because we're building and developing that relationship with Krishna, to depend upon Krishna for our protection, for our shelter. Knowing full well that Krishna is what's it? Bhaktaram Yag, thank you. Bhaktaram Yagya Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He owns everything. He owns the planetary systems. All sacrifice is meant to please Krishna. Everything is meant to please Krishna because ultimately everything comes from Krishna. Everything is owned by Krishna. We don't own anything. We don't own nothing. You can only own, you can think as little, whatever you own, whatever you think is yours, and you think you got it, you can, when you leave this body, which, by the way, every one of us is going to, what you own, you can take with you. There you go. So now figure that one out. So wrap your heads around that. Whatever you own, you can take with you. So that means there's nothing material. You got nothing. So we spend all our life accumulating all the wealth, all our relationships, all the bank balance, our society. We're taking shelter in our family. We take shelter we're taking shelter basically in the material energy in as many different forms. That's what we're doing, and we generally, but ultimately, Bhagavatam explains there false shelters, they're fallible soldiers, like a king. And this is Paranjana is explained in the Bhagavatam. He was trying to keep death out. So he built this big castle, this huge castle, and he had, surrounded himself by so many guards and, so many soldiers. That's what they call fallible soldiers. He surrounded himself with wealth in the chambers of the of the palace. And we do that. That's what we call fallible soldiers when we take shelter in our society, or our bank balance, on our relationships, or whatever it is, we're building up as a fall, because we can't ultimately, we're taking this a false shelter because the shelter will ultimately be taken from us. And this is what Krishna is saying. It's establishing what's eternal, what's temporary. So it is in our interest to take shelter permanently, not temporary. So whatever shelter we experience here is temporary. It can't give us the ultimate shelter we're looking for. But we all need shelter. We need a house to keep the elements off. We need clothing to protect ourselves and keep our decency and, keep the cold weather out and all this stuff. And so we all need protecting. But the ultimate protection is Krishna. Even though we use the material energy, but ultimately the devotee understands that Krishna is in control of everything. It's not that my happiness, and which is when you use, this is the question, will we depend upon this? We start taking shelter of material energy, thinking it'll make us happy. And we're thinking we're safe. And that's called illusion. That's called Maya. Maya means that which is not. So Bhagavatam explains, only Bhagavad Gita explains, these other great spiritual teachers come down, these spiritual books tell us all that this material world, all that glitters is not gold, as they say. So what's attracting us, where we take in shelter in this material world, is not going to give us the protection that we're looking for. And generally you'll find that when we get into difficulties, when we get into anxieties, we get into the stress, we're relying on these false shelters because they're letting us down. Whereas when you learn to take shelter of the spiritual energy, then Krishna won't let us down. That's where we'll get our strength. That's where there's stability. That's where there's peace, when you know that you're sheltered and nothing can harm you ultimately. That takes spiritual knowledge, and that takes spiritual acumen, and that takes practice. This is what, when you understand that, or we begin to practice it, you get that protection. It's not that Krishna just protects the advanced devotees, all the pure devotees. Krishna will protect even the beginner devotees like us, new devotees like us. Hey, Deva Prasta just walked in, didn't he? I walked. I lost my thought now. What was I talking about? It's Dave the Plasterer. It's not. I introduced him it was, I don't know how many years ago was this? 20 odd years ago, maybe more. 20 years ago. I introduced him as Dave the Plasterer, but someone was in the audience thought he was Dave the Plasterer. So for years, she would say it to me. When's Dave the Plasterer coming back? Yeah. So that was a little joke we always have. They do the Sanskrit names. They sound funny if you're not used to them. It's just not used to them. But yeah, protection. I need protecting now. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was again. Yeah, it's not only the advanced devotee. Just like a mother, when a child calls for the mother, immediately the mother. So when we learn to call for Krishna, and that's what chanting Hare Krishna is meant to be done. It's a supplication. It's a call, and we call into Krishna like a child, probably like a child calling its mother. That's what we. Like a child calling his mother means dependence. A child is fully dependent upon the mother. It doesn't depend on anything else. It knows the mother will give us protection. So there's maybe so many other things. It's not that to be free, or to be liberated, to be free. Liberated means just to become free from distress and anxiety and all these things that are kind of, all these negative energies that plague us. And Krishna answers, Arjuna asks, what is this? And it's lust, he says. Lust, anger, greed, envy, all these pushings, these lower modes, which is pushing the living entity to act in a certain way, even though we know, Arjuna says, even though I know I shouldn't be acting like this, I know what is dharmic, I know what's religion, and I know what's irreligion, but still, why am I being pushed to act? So even though we know sometimes, because the material energy is so strong, it is so strong, you'll just get pushed. I don't know if you've noticed, anyone who tries to do anything spiritual or tries to do anything, you're just getting pushed. Especially when you go in, it's like against the grain, And if you're playing wood, you're playing wood, you go with it, you go with the groove, and it's smooth. You start going against the grain, then you scuff in, so this material energy is surcharged with just to enjoy and enforcing this illusion that I'm this body. So when you try to come out, because you're going against the grain, that's why it's so difficult. And as long as we're still trying to use our own intelligence, we're trying to use the material energy to get out. Devi Esha Gunamami Mamamaya Duratraya, Krishna says, it's impossible. We cannot get out without help. You have to understand, we need superior help. We need the spiritual energy to get out. No one's going to get out otherwise. Best of luck with that if you try it anyway without Krishna. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So when we generally hitting difficulties or we're going through the difficulties, we generally taking shelter in these lower modes of material nature, which is just mentioned in the verse. This is what's pushing us. And to take shelter in these false, these fallible soldiers, trying to avoid our karma. No matter how much we try to avoid, surround ourselves in society, surround ourselves with friends, with our bank balance, with our country, with our whatever we're trying to, and it comes in variety of forms, we're trying to avoid our karma. You can't. What's that Middle Eastern story, that famous one, where the servant of the master, he told him to go shopping down into Baghdad, and he goes into Baghdad marketplace, and he goes to buy the vegetables and all the supplies for the master, and then he goes in there, and he sees death personified. He sees the Grim Reaper. He sees him there, and he looked at him in a funny, and in a strange kind of way, and so the guy freaked, the servant freaked. He just dropped all his vegetables, he dropped his supplies, and he just, because he's seen death personified. So he run, So he left Baghdad, went to the master, grabbed his stuff. He says, and the master said, where are you going? Where are you going? He said, I was just in the marketplace, and there was the Grim Reaper there. And he just looked at me really, really, really strange. So he said, I'm going. It's freaked me out. He said, where are you going? He says, I'm going to my brothers up in the mountains. I'm going to run and hide up there. So he went. So the master was a little bit upset. He said, well, this is my best servant. What's going on? So he marched down to the market, and the Grim Reaper was still there. So he went up to the Grim Reaper and said, hey, what's going on? Why have you freaked out my servant? He said, you just frightened him. He said, I didn't mean to frighten him. He said, well, why did you look at him like that? He said, because I was startled to see him here because I got an appointment with him this afternoon up in his brother's house. So she got it there. She was wondering where this was going. So we can't, but the thing is, we can't avoid your destiny. No one can avoid destiny. Whatever we got coming is going to come. There's nothing we can do to avoid it. So we got to learn to take shelter of Krishna, or that spiritual energy which gives us that, but nothing ultimately material can hurt us, because the soul's never born and it's never died. It doesn't born and it doesn't die. It's only that we are kind of fixated into this illusion. And we all know on one level, we all say, yes, material things, it doesn't help us ultimately. We can't buy happiness, and we all do this, but we all chase it on another level. We all still strive for this. So, but by practicing spiritual life, we can get that protection from Krishna. It's not that we have to become pure devotees. He will immediately protect us to the degree that we'll take shelter. He says, Jayatamam prapadyante. He says, as you surrender, I'll surrender to you. You love me, I love you. Krishna's reciprocate. He's reciprocating with us. He won't interfere with our free will. It has to come from us, and it comes from us. He'll reciprocate. So it's not that we just got to do it 100%. Fully sheltered means you've got to give up all material things and walk around barefooted and all this stuff. Walking around. It means you can use things, have material things, but know how to use them properly. Know that they're given to us by the grace of God. Know that they're given to us by a great. We've all got gifts. Everyone's got gifts. Everyone's got something we can use, but it's meant to be used in Christian service. That's the proper use. That's where then you begin to rely upon Krishna. That Krishna's given me this. And I'm dependent upon Krishna. And if he takes it, he takes it. Well, eventually, everything will be taken eventually from us. So it's not like the Pandavas, they were kings, they were princes, they had so much, they had fantastic wealth, but they used it for the service of Krishna, to look after their citizens. So it's not that you don't look after your families, but ultimately, it's not that you looking after your family will protect your family. It's Krishna will protect. Was it Mare Krishna Rakike, Rake Krishna Marike? If Krishna wants to kill you, no one can stop him. And if Krishna wants to protect you, no one can kill you. So we have to learn that dependence. We have to listen, but that takes relationships. That takes calling. That's why we chant. That's what our practices are for. So that the degree that we practice is the degree that we take shelter. But Krishna will immediately reciprocate and protect. It's not that, like I say, we have to be just pure devotees. We have to be liberated before we get that full protection, which is what we think, that's for the advance. No, immediately. Immediately you call. That's what chanting Hare Krishna is. Immediately you call, Krishna will be just like a mother. When a child calls its mother, when the child is sincerely calling, immediately the mother will come. And we're not talking crocodile tears, when a child cries for something, well, I want this, I want that, and he just waves something in front of it. It's just easy satisfied. Like a child when it knows its mother, it won't be satisfied unless it's put on its mother's lap. It can be put on the family's laps, whatever, on the brothers, the sisters, the uncles, the aunties, but it's not satisfied until it's put on its mother's lap. So the devotee, once you start practicing, when you start searching for Krishna, you don't become fully satisfied. You can try everything material. That's the dissatisfaction that we feel in, because you're not satisfied. You're not comfortable. That's what that dissatisfaction is. We're trying to fill that through material things. Well, ultimately, it's going to take spiritual relationship with Krishna to do that, to be completely satisfied, to feel But like I say, it's not that we don't have material things, it's how to use material things, to use them in its proper place. That's what we're, and learning depending upon that Krishna is providing us, whether you're working in the bank. It's not the bank who's paying, it's Krishna who's paying ultimately, because everything comes through him. It's not, we have to understand that Krishna, it's everything depends upon Krishna. What is it? Maya dakshani prakriti suyate sucharacharam. Everything, moving and non-moving in this material world, is own controlled by Krishna. He's watching and moving everything. There's a cause for everything. There's no such thing as chance, by the way. There's no such thing as chance. Nothing happens by chance. We are moving in this world of karma. It's our karma that puts us in different situations. And if you still continue in the world of karma, we just get pushed along by it. And that's what's alluring to us. That's what's alluring to us. And then meanwhile, we think we're attracted to this material world, and death is creeping up from behind. The scriptures give example like a deer. They give this deer, and he's looking, he's going to drink some water, and then he's seeing this reflection. And the deers, they're beautiful animals, so he's seeing this reflection, and he's looking how beautiful he looks, how good I look today, And in the meantime, there's a tiger coming up behind it, but it's so absorbed in how good I'm looking today that it doesn't see the tiger coming. So we're like that. It's like us when it's material. Look how good I'm looking today. Look at me. Look at my society. Look at my team. Look at this. Look how good I'm looking. Look what I'm doing. And in the meantime, that's the illusion. That's called self-absorbed. Self-realization means to understand who we are and who is Krishna. And we get warnings, by the way. Just like, when the tiger, it says, when the tiger is on the hunt, especially in Asia and in India and Southeast Asia, apparently there's a little rodent that kind of goes in front of it and it makes this noise like beep, beep, squeak, squeak, whatever it does, something like that. That's my imitation of a little rodent. But it's making the noise. So the animals that are alert to it, they know there's a tiger coming. So they'll move. I'm out of here, the tiger's on, he's going to eat it. But when you don't hear it, or you're not taking the signs, you're not watching the warning signs that's coming along. Yeah. So we're like that. The body starts to break down. Krishna said, one of the things Krishna explains in the 13th chapter in this material, Janma Mrityu Jayavayadi, birth, death, old age, and disease. This is one of the problems of the material world to solve, but whoever thinks like that, what do you mean? It's not a problem. What's the problem about that? We don't even think of it as a problem. We don't think when you're young, you don't think getting old is a problem. Wait until you're old. Wait until you get old. I mean, I'm in my 60s. I remember when I was in my 20s and 60s, seems like eons. Never even going to come. It was so far ahead. You think it's not even going to end. Not even worth thinking about. It's so far. I'll worry about that when I get. And what do I'm not scared of death anyway. Look, I'm fit, I'm big, and I'm strong. Yeah. Wait until death comes in your face when you're old. Let's see how brave you are then. But when we're young, we're naturally narcissistic. That's why they send young men to war, because we think we're invincible. We're not going to die. But there's warning signs. And if you read the scriptures, if you study Bhagavad Gita, if you chant Hare Krishna, you'll see the signs. You'll see what's signposted, and you can see it, and you can prepare for it. That's what spiritual knowledge is meant to do. It's meant to wake us up from the illusion that this is not all in all. This is not everything. And we put, as they say, put all our eggs in one basket, and we shouldn't do that, because we'll end up disappointed. So by chanting, that's just what, and it's not, we don't have to be 100% spiritual. It's proportionate. So just like if I got tea in there, if I had tea in there, well, if I had tea, it was a hint. I'm saying if it was full of water, there's no air. But so if I drink 25%, okay, if you insist. No, he doesn't know what he's doing. Give it to her, so he'll come back with burnt water. You can't boil water. You can't boil water. You know. I appreciate your offer. So when you drink water, anyway, let's get back to the analogy. So if I take 25% water out, 25% is air, 50% air. So right now we may be 100% material, so there's no spiritual. But when you start practicing spiritual, so you get 25% material, spiritual, then you're 75% material, and then 50 like that. But it's a gradual process. Krishna gives us encouragement. He says, Sarvadhamam Prityaja. Krishna says, surrender everything, then I'll give you liberation. I'll give you love. But Lord Chaitanya has come and says, there's no rules. You just chant Hare Krishna. Don't worry about the rules. Don't worry about anything else. You just chant Hare Krishna. And automatically then you'll kind of, these pan balance, you'll gradually go up 10%, 90% material, 10% spiritual, 20, 80, 30, 70. You'll gradually do like that. But you have to practice. Otherwise, Krishna's not going to interfere. Because you won't interfere with independence. But when you practice, you're calling, you're saying, I want help, I want out. Because Krishna won't come and pull us out unless we want to. It's like a heart surgeon won't come in and just operate on you in the middle of the night. You've got to sign forms. Okay, I'm giving you permission to remove the blockage. So Krishna won't come in and force us. He won't force us to do this. We have to do it because that's what love means. Love means it has to come naturally, voluntarily, from the heart. And it's a gradual. But you have... So you don't think you've got plenty of time either. That's another thing. Well, I got plenty of time. I can take my time on this. No, it's not. You have to... Doing nothing is not a solution. And not doing too much, giving everything up. We're not talking... That's the other end of the extreme. So no extremes. Just like if you want to go weight training, resistance training, you've got to pick a weight that you can not comfortably, you've got to be challenged. You've got to come out of your comfort zone. You've got to be challenged to get any benefit. If you're going to lift a weight that is just, like you're lifting up these cartels, and I'm going to curl these cartels all day, how much benefit do you think you're going to get? How much benefit do you think you're going to get? So doing nothing, staying in your comfort zone, thinking, I'm okay, I don't need this. Well, that's fine. That's up to you. But if you want to connect to Krishna, if you want to connect to God, you want to connect spiritually, you've got to come out of your comfort zone. You have to do something. And there's no good trying to lift up 200-pound weights if you're not even going to do it. So it's no good, right, I'm giving everything up and then I'm running off to the hills and running off whatever it is to give up what we have this conception of what spirituality is. So it's under guidance. And this is what the Bhagavad Gita is about. This is what Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON is for. That's why he came to the Western world to set up this ISKCON to teach us how to become spiritual in this material world, how to live in this world and not to become worldly minded, as Christ said, not to become too enamored by it, not to get swamped by it. We have to practice to bring it down, to redress the balance, both individually and collectively. I don't even notice the whole world's going nuts. It's going mad. We can't change the world, but you can change you. We can influence them, but by being the proper example. So this is what you get. Krishna then gets you back. So when you start chanting, when you join ISKCON or you start helping ISKCON to spread Krishna consciousness by giving Krishna consciousness to others through it. And that's what chanting Hare Krishna does. Krishna gets you back, as they say. It's just like if you work for a company, you're on the company insurance or something, right? You're automatically covered. The company insurance covers you. So when you start spreading Krishna or connecting to giving Krishna to someone in whatever shape or form, through connecting, through the chanting, through prasadam, through the philosophy, through body, through using your body, mind, and words to connect others, to connect yourself, and then to connect others, automatically Krishna gets you back. Just like your company insurance, you're covered. Krishna automatically protects you. So don't be shy, don't be frightened to chant Hare Krishna, to engage in helping us spread Krishna consciousness. Krishna's got your back. And he says, there's none more dear to me than those that give this message of Krishna consciousness. So if you want to become dear to God, the Bhagavad Gita will tell you how to do that. Then you're learning to take shelter of the spiritual energy. And that's the safe platform. There's nothing material can take that away. That's where there's safety. That's where there's security. It's not only we want secure. We're not secure with peace. We don't want to be peaceful. Not only peaceful, it gets a bit bored. So that's why that's what we're spreading Krishna consciousness. It's an adventure. There's safety with risk. Like mountaineers, they go climbing, rock climbing, but it's an adventurous, it's a thrill, but there's safety with the rope. They go with the rope. So there's risk and there's safety. So spreading Krishna consciousness is a risk. But there's safety, the safety that Krishna protects. So don't be frightened. Don't be shy. Connect somehow or other in giving Krishna consciousness to it. Everyone's got an ability, as we said earlier on. It's all a God-given gift to us. We have to learn how to use it in the service of Krishna, how to connect others to Krishna through it. Otherwise we lose it. As I say, if you don't use it, you lose it. Using the weight training analogy. See, because if you don't use those muscles, when you come to use them, you haven't used them, as I say, you've lost it. So we have to practice. That's what our practice is for. Developing compassion, developing love. Because if you don't use it, you lose it. You begin to think just only of yourself or your family and the society, which is just an extension of ourselves. So we try to enjoy through them, vicariously, as they call it. We try to enjoy through our family. We give the kids what we never had and things like this. That's natural, but that's what we're trying to do. But I don't want to become a doctor. I never become a doctor. I wanted to know you will become a doctor. That's sometimes parents can be a bit like that. Because you're trying to enjoy through extended family. But we have to learn to our real enjoyment is when we connect spiritually. It doesn't depend on anything materially, ultimately. Then, if you're going to depend on material energy for our happiness, you have to have good health. So that's okay when you're young. And then you're going to have to depend upon wealth. Because as you get older, you can't move so much. You've got to have all the creature comforts. And if you haven't got money, you can't buy them. Because when you're young, I don't need money, I don't need this. Wait till you get older. Wait till you get older. But don't wait. Learn. This is what we have to learn. Learn by hearing. So Srila Prabhupada said we have to learn by hearing. It's not seeing is believing. Learn by hearing. That's first class way to hear. Okay, I'm going to stop. Thank you. So we're going to do more chanting.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Nama Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shinyavari Pachatyaja Satarini Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namani Namah Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharini Shinyavari Pachatyaja Satarini Namah
Nityananda Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Bo, Nityananda Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. 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 Oh, Nityananda Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Oh, Nityananda Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. 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 Oh, Nityananda Bo, Bo, Hari Bo. Oh, Nityananda Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. 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 Oh, Shigarada Bo, Hari Bo.